Well, hello my friend, and welcome to yet another product review. Let me introduce you to one of the worst purchase decisions that I've made in the last 10 years. And I'm sadly famous for taking really bad decisions when it comes to spending my money. So here is the Insta360 1R 360 degrees edition. And to set it up right before we start, this is the product that opens the most questions that I have never been asking. So I bought this camera because of that one reason why we buy things. It's during this one briefing, you know this briefing. This one briefing where somebody brings up some buzzwords that trigger something inside of you that says, I could go out and buy something that helps me research that field. In this case, it was underwater filming and 360 degrees. Those two words triggered the purchase of this here camera. Now, hear me out. You can't use the sound of this camera because the inbuilt microphones are mounted directly to the case without any bearing or anything. So if you have it on a stick like this to use the opportunity to have 360 degrees video, then every time you fiddle around with the stick and make this really unnoticeable noise from the outside, you spoil all your footage because you can't use that. Okay, let me try to hold it as still as possible while I keep on continuing to bash this camera, because it is a really useless piece of technology that is now in my possession for whatever reason. You can't use the sound that you can bring in via Bluetooth because you then have to buy Apple AirPods. Anything else, every other Bluetooth device that I tried to connect didn't work. I tried Sony, I tried Mi-Bus, I tried so many others, Bose. None of them worked because Bluetooth, dear makers of the Insta360, is a very tricky protocol, and you have to be sure to follow every single bit of it. Otherwise it just connects to one, but not to other devices. So if you want to spend $250 to connect to a $300 camera, well, that's up to you. If you like spending your money this way, I thought I had an option to connect something, but it didn't work. So I bought the adapter. The USB-C to 3.5mm adapter, and that happened. To enhance the sound of your Insta360, you can buy this adapter. It's 20 euros and you can throw it away immediately, because this is the sound of this microphone directly connected, while this is the original sound of the Insta360. So I let you make the decision on this stupid purchase. Exactly, and I tried it with different microphones, Rode, whatever, Neumann, and all those other input devices that I have, and it was always this muffled sound that you can't use. Second, you can't use the image. You can't use the footage that you grab from this camera, because spreading 5.7K, which seems a lot, spreading 5.7K around 360 degrees in both axes leaves you with something like 720p if you crop in. So after you cropped in, you'll be left with some grainy, pixely footage with really poor color management, or color science as they call it. But even if you like that kind of footage, you can't really edit it, because the app you're going to use to edit this footage, it might run on your old phone, but it will break it as soon as you try to play back the footage. The idea behind the Insta360 1R is that you leave the footage on the camera, connect via Wi-Fi, and then edit the stuff on the camera while watching it on the phone. But as soon as you play back the footage, it will break your phone, because it's going to pump several gigabytes onto your phone, which then has to dump this, and basically it's going to break down. So basically Insta360 forces you to buy a lot of new things. when you buy this camera. First, you have to buy a new phone to run this app. They might claim there is Insta360 Studio, which is a super laggy desktop app that you can use on Mac or on Windows. And it's really not any pleasure. The last 4 days trying to use Insta360 Studio was the time when I was deciding to throw my computer out of the window. While filming it with this camera, perhaps. So there might be a use case for this camera. Throwing it after something that you throw down somewhere. There is a great channel where they do this on a regular basis. While using the app is an absolute nightmare, you might want to use Premiere Pro by Adobe. You can download a plugin that makes you... Well, actually the plugin doesn't really work. You have to click every single clip to apply those settings about the stitching and the color signs and all that. So that might be something to consider to change in the next update. Let's do some batch editing there. You can actually stop the recording and start That is a bad idea. Don't do that, because if you press one of the two buttons on your camera that lets you record and then stop the recording, be sure there is nothing happening within the next 2 minutes or something, because it has to write the buffer from the camera onto the card. And yes, I'm using a very fast card in there. I'm actually using the same card that I used to record drone footage, so I'm pretty sure it's a fast card, so don't blame me for that. It's just, it's buffering and then it's gonna take its time, and you can't start the recording before it's actually finished buffering and rebuffering and writing the buffer and whatever. So you might want to be sure that you also download the GoPro plugin, GoPro framing, to your After Effects Premiere Pro. Otherwise you can't actually frame the thing properly. I don't know why Insta360 just forwards you to the GoPro page to download this. I mean, I should actually start doing this. I should send people to my competitors to download their great stuff, because I'm not able to do it. It's all about marketing with Insta360. So you are made to buy new things. So you buy the camera, and maybe you got the cage with it, that by the way doesn't have a hot or cold shoe on the top. You can buy an extra one, which is, well, pretty expensive. And you can use the extra one to mount a microphone on top of it, if you were as stupid as I was to buy the adapter to try a microphone on this camera. Well, okay. So you need a stick. I bought one very cheap. This one is from Amazon, and it was really cheap, and it seems to work properly, in spite of having this kind of noise problem where when I touch the ground, it transfers the noise to the microphones if I touch it underneath. So that is not too useful, but it's not the stick's fault. In addition to the very obvious, like a stick and a cage to hold the camera on, because it doesn't have any drill holes to hold your tripod in it, and you don't want to hold it like this, because otherwise you're going to spoil all the image and defeat the purpose of 360 degrees with the vanishing selfie stick. You will also have to buy a lot of SD cards to save all this footage, because 5.7K in H.264 or H.265, if you want to force your system to shut down immediately, will cost you a lot of data space somewhere. So buy some SD cards, many. And while you're at it, perhaps buy a tool to drag them out, because the spring that's inside there will push the card just far enough for you to see it, but the cage will prevent you from pulling it out. And then buy batteries. By any means, buy batteries, many of them. And while you're at it, buy a charger, an external charger that charges more of them, because you will drain those batteries faster than they charge. This battery here actually lasts me about 10 minutes of recording. And once you have all your accessories and the SD cards and the batteries, what more do you need? Well, get a waterproof housing, because this camera is rated 5 meters waterproof. But it will not be 5 meters waterproof, as we all know. The rating says if you apply the pressure that equates to 5 meters of water above the camera, then we'll kind of hold it. But we all know if there is water splashing around somewhere, if you drop it while you're water skiing, you'd better had put it in a waterproof case. So that waterproof case will force you to buy another battery, a special battery, because the 360 degrees model goes into a special housing that needs a different battery. Buy some of these batteries because you're going to run out of battery even faster. And of course you're going to be tricked into buying another module, because there was this deal that made it so much cheaper to buy the module right now. So for example, the 4K module was so much cheaper on this one as if I bought it separately. The marketing department of Insta360 is quite in opposition to the development department, really good. They invent new deals every day, while the development department has difficulties adjusting the software to where it needs to be. Like, just do what people want the software to do. Okay, but is the camera any good? Can you use it? Is it a useful thing? No, it isn't. There is a screen on the back that helps you see what you're recording, if you can see it, because you're holding it right there. So the angle is pretty... You won't see what you're recording unless you're using it as a point and shoot. So why would you use a 360 degrees camera as a point and shoot? That defeats the purpose. Okay, but there is a touch screen, so you can actually do some settings on the touch screen if your fingers are not too thick, like mine. My really thick fingers, which can touch the buttons and the little checkboxes and the glitchy interface that will swipe away all the time you press something, and as soon as you touch the screen it will go everywhere. The settings, you can change certain things, but you can't change too many things. Like the sound, for example, it's what it is, just take it. You can't do anything with the sound out of this camera. Just be sure to record the sound externally if you need the sound. But why would you need the sound from a 360 degrees action cam? You put loud music underneath and call it a day. Why did I buy this? There's so much money Who is this made for? Action guys? No, definitely not. If you want to film something in action sports, you're gonna buy a camera that's not modular. That's waterproof as it is. Not with a limitation to, oh, don't splash it too hard. And it's definitely not made for content creators who need the content to be manageable on your computer. If you send something off to Instagram, okay, that's fine. If you're a TikToker, maybe this is the great camera for you because you don't have to point it somewhere. But honestly, if you're a content creator, waiting for this footage to be processed, to be stabilized, to be stitched, and then to fiddle around with it, you're far better off buying an action camera like a GoPro and just point it to what you want to film. The point of this camera is that you film everything around. So the tiny planet thing that looks so great in the app but doesn't really work for more than 1 or 2 times, because then you get fed up with it and you think, wow, I might take some 360 degree shots of me setting up an installation. How? That battery is going to last you 10 minutes. It's going to take me a few hours to set something up, so why would I do that? Time lapsing, I tried it. After 1 hour that thing shut down. What kind of a time lapse is that? Who is this thing made for? Other than the marketing guys who sell it and all the accessories. The notion of fixing things in post becomes an absurd nightmare with this camera, because everything you want to fix in post takes you like 5 times the recording time, with everything, with the following, with those AI algorithms that help you edit the footage and all that takes you 5 times the time you recorded it. So if you want to record content for your channel, that's not the camera for you. If you record action, maybe if you need it to be a tiny planet, then yes. But everything else, get a proper camera, because this camera is gonna annoy you and gonna annoy everybody around you, because it shuts down every now and then after 10 minutes because the battery is empty, the card is full, or you're just fed up with the thing and you throw it into a corner. So we've come full circle, my friends. And if you like reviews like that, where somebody spent money on a product and expresses their limited satisfaction with it, then subscribe to this channel and ring the bell. And for you guys at Insta360, if you're not the marketing department, I wish you would listen to people that say maybe your product wasn't ready for the market just yet. Just to enhance it a little bit. And I'll be seeing you next time.